Well, one thing I'm very happy that they improved on is that Zack Snyder's Justice League. Now, if you don't know how this film came to be, back in 2016, Zack Snyder was shooting his version of Justice League. Now, if you don't know who Zack Snyder is, he made Man of Steel and Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. He was shooting his own version of Justice League back in 2016, and he'd shot about 90% to 95% of the film, but sadly he had to drop out because of a family tragedy. So, Joss Whedon, director of Avengers Assemble and Avengers Age of Ultron, stepped in to finish off the film, and did major reshoots on the film though. You know, more reshoots than I think were intended to actually happen on the film. Ultimately, when the 2017 theatrical cut of Justice League came out, people didn't like it. You know, the critics didn't like it, and the fans didn't like it either. To be honest, I hate it as well. So basically, ever since the theatrical cut of Justice League came out, people have been wanting the Snyder Cut. There's been this large campaign from the fans online with the hashtag release the Snyder Cut, and as well as that, the campaign's actually gone so far that, you know, some of the cast of Justice League, like Jason Momoa, Aquaman himself, Gal Gadot, you know, Wonder Woman herself, and Ben Affleck, Batman himself, have all said release the Snyder Cut. Zack Snyder himself has even said, I have my own cut of the film. So long story short, after a lot of fan campaigning and the launch of HBO Max in America, the Snyder Cut is finally coming out with Zack Snyder's Justice League. And honestly, before I talk about my opinion on this film, I'm going to give my quick opinion on the previous Zack Snyder DC films. Man of Steel, I think, is fine. I don't dislike Man of Steel, but at the same time, though, I don't really like it either. I just think it's fun. It does have some really good qualities about it. For example, Hans Zimmer's fantastic musical score for the film. I absolutely love the musical score for Man of Steel, but at the same time, though, I think Man of Steel also has some issues, particularly in the third act of the film. And at the same time, though, I don't hate Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, but I don't really like it either. And I think that film has some big problems, particularly in the third act of the film. But I don't hate it. I actually think Batman v Superman has some interesting ideas in there. But ultimately, it's not that good of a film. But I've been wanting to see the Snyder Cut as much as everyone else, really, because the thing is, I remember when, you know, the theatrical cut of Justice League came out in 2017, I remember watching it in the cinema and just getting really, really excited to see it, because I'd seen all the trailers and they looked absolutely fantastic. Then sitting in the cinema and just thinking to myself, this is awful. It's all over the place. It's messy. It's totally all over the place. And how it doesn't really explain. We're not really getting a backstory to that character. Okay, the backstory is there, but it's rushed way too quickly. And I just remember thinking to myself, this is awful. And they cut so many scenes out. Because I remember, I was one of the people, like, I don't really like comic book movies. I've talked about this before, but I was actually really, really excited for Justice League back when it was coming out in 2017. I remember seeing some of the trailers of the film. It had these scenes in the trailers that just weren't in the theatrical cut of the film. And so I've been one of the people who've been, you know, a big believer of the Snyder Cut. I mean, I never knew if it really existed, but at the same time, though, I've been hoping it had existed, because I really wanted to see, you know, Zack Snyder's version of this film. In the end, you know, Zack Snyder made Man of Steel, he made Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Those are part of the same story. And honestly, watching the trailers for Justice League back in 2017, I felt, you know, Justice League was going to be a continuation of that story. Starting Man of Steel, continued Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, and hopefully, you know, continued and maybe even finished in Justice League. And then it wasn't, and the theatrical cut of Justice League is just pants. I've been hoping for a Snyder Cut for a long, long time. And finally, with the launch of HBO Max in America, it's finally here. We have finally got Zack Snyder's Justice League. And honestly, it is absolutely brilliant. It is such a good film, because not only is it so completely different than the theatrical cut, because honestly it's a completely different movie than the theatrical cut of the film, and don't get me wrong, there are some similarities and some scenes which are similar, but at the same time though, it is a different film in the end. But at the same time though, it's the Justice League film everyone wants. It's the Justice League film everyone wanted from the theatrical cut, didn't get from that film because it's absolutely terrible, and they get in this film because it's so much fun to watch. Like, oh my god, I enjoy the hell out of this film. I mean, yes, it does still have some problems, I will admit that. For example, first of all, one of the big problems with the film is the special effects. You know, in the end, this is Zack Snyder's version of the film, and it is 4 hours, and some of the special effects in the film are still a bit ropey, and aren't as well finished as they could have been, and some of the special effects in the film were a bit obvious, I must admit, and they weren't as finished as well as they could have been. And at the same time, though, this film has some really dull dialogue, like, it really does. Like, the dialogue in Batman v Superman has carried on into this film, and the dialogue in that film was rubbish, and it's still in this film. Like, there's actually one conversation between the Justice League. Literally, there's actually one conversation in the film which goes something like this: okay, we have to get Superman back. No, we can't get Superman back, but he's Superman, we have to get him back. Oh, but I don't really want to get Superman back, it's not a good idea. But no, we have to get Superman back because he has to fight with us. That's literally a conversation in the film, and there's some really dull dialogue in there. Some moments where, you know, you'll literally have Wonder Woman or Batman explaining, you know, what's happened in previous movies to us, so we understand what's going on in this film a bit more. And there's some dull dialogue in there. At the same time, though, the film is 4 hours in the end. It is a 4-hour film, and sometimes it can feel like that. I must admit, there are some slow moments, particularly in the first hour of the film. There were some slow moments which did kind of test my patience a bit. If I'm being honest, I think this film could have been 3 hours and be more tight and be more to the point, and I think it actually would have been a more effective film. At the same time, though, there are some characters in there which are just kind of in there for the sake of being in there. Like Amy Adams as Lois Lane. She's mostly in this film just to mourn the fact that Superman's died, you know, Batman v Superman. And it's honestly, once she's in there, it's like, be a bit more interesting. I did kind of feel that with her character, I must admit. I mean, she just kind of just pop up, you know, in between scenes where the Justice League are doing something and then just come out of nowhere. Like, she's really sad that Superman died, she can't get over it and everything. And it's quite a few of that in the film. And at the same time, though, there was one character in particular, which I'm not going to go into spoiler because he's a big spoiler character, but one character in particular, which I didn't really get what was going on with that. And that's probably because I'm not really a comic book fan. And one scene in particular was with Martha Kent, and it was a bit weird. I didn't really get what was going on there. And at the same time, though, I do feel like the film is a lot of fan service in the end. But in the end, you know, the fans made this film happen. So I kind of understand that, and actually, that really isn't a criticism, but there is a lot of character in there for the sake of pleasing the fans. But, saying all that, yes, I have my problems with the film, but saying all that, I still think it was so enjoyable to watch. And honestly, it's such a fantastic film. It really is. It's so much better than the theatrical cut. That, in my opinion, that film doesn't even exist anymore. That film's so bad. That doesn't even exist anymore. This is the Justice League you want. This is the Justice League, you know, you've been wanting for so long. But the thing is, I'm not really a fan of Man of Steel. I'm not really a fan of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. But, you know, the story in them continues on into this film, and it continues on in the best way possible. This is the Justice League you want, because it works for so many reasons. Because not only is it so enjoyable to watch, but it has those interesting characterizations and those deep moments which work so well. Like, we learn so much more about each and every member of the Justice League in the film. Like Cyborg, he is such a key character in the film. First of all, he's the heart and soul of the film, and Ray Fisher plays him so well. But at the same time, though, there's so much more interest in his character. Like, you see a lot more of his dad in the film. Although you did see his dad in the theatrical cut, you see a lot more of his dad in this film. You also see Cyborg's mother in the film, which is a key part of the film. She's a key character of the film, particularly with Cyborg's storyline, and that works so much more. Honestly, he's a key character of the film, and boy oh boy, Zack Synder used him so well. At the same time, though, Ezra is so much better than the Flash, and you learn so much more about the Flash in the film. You see a lot more scenes between the Flash and his father, which work really well. And at the same time, though, you get better introductions to each and every character in the film. They get a better introduction to Wonder Woman in this film. Honestly, you know, you get the introduction to Wonder Woman in the first film when she's trying to save all the people from the bank robbery that's going on. And in this film, it's exact same scene, but it's staged so much better. The action's so much better, and at the same time, though, the music's so much better in that scene. You know, we actually get the Wonder Woman music in this film, and we didn't get that in the theatrical cut, but you actually get, you know, but to get that in the scene, I was like, oh yes, this is going to be great, this is going to be great. And you get so much better introductions to these characters, and that's why it works, because you do see more characterization with these characters, and character development as well. There's character development with Cyborg in there, character development with Flash, character development, you know, Batman as well, and character development with, you know, Superman, which just all work so well. But at the same time, though, it is really enjoyable to watch, and the action sequences in the film were genuinely enjoyable, which genuinely shocked me. I've talked about this before, but I'm not really a fan of action sequences in the films, but actually in this film, I was enjoying the hell out of some of these action sequences, particularly, you know, like I said, that scene with Wonder Woman when she's saving all the people in the bank robbery towards the beginning of the film. That's such an enjoyable sequence. At the same time, though, the sequence where, you know, Superman comes back and he doesn't remember that he's Superman, he just starts, you know, trying to kill the Justice League, and that's a far more better fun action sequence of the film, because it's staged better, you know, it's Zack Synder's vision in the end. And at the same time, though, you know, the whole scene where you actually see the mother boxes get separated, and you basically have, you know, the prologue as to why all the situation, you know, with Steppenwolf is going on. At the same time, though, Steppenwolf is better in the film. Oh my god, he is such a better villain. He's actually fleshed out, and you understand his motive a bit more. You understand that he's trying to get forgiveness from Darkseid, and that just works so much more in the film. Honestly, and at the same time, though, he doesn't look like a video game character, which is so much better. I remember in the theatrical cut, he literally looked like a video game character, and I was like, Jesus Christ. That's terrible CGI. But in this film, you know, not only has he got spikes on it, which are really good, like he got spiky armor and everything. At the same time, like the CGI on his character is so much better. And at the same time, though, the film has distinctive direction. You can clearly tell this is a Zack Snyder film in the best way possible. And I didn't think I'd actually say that about this film. Like I said, I don't really like Man of Steel or Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, but I actually really like Zack Snyder's style in this film, and that's one of the reasons which I'm going to talk about on my live stream coming up this Wednesday as to why I actually prefer, you know, the DC films over Marvel movies, because they actually have distinctive direction to them. Say all about Man of Steel and say all about Batman v Superman, but you can clearly tell that those two films are both Zack Snyder films, and you can clearly tell that this film is a Zack Snyder film as well. I mean, obviously, you know, it's called Zack Snyder's Justice League, but at the same time, though, you can clearly tell through the direction, there's distinctive, you know, dark direction in the film, which works really well. And you know, the thing is with Marvel movies, in my opinion, they get a bit too much fun, have a bit too much fun in them. But at the This film, yes, it's dark and mysterious. It's got like dark line in there. It's quite dark subjects in there as well. But they're done really well in my opinion. I really like them. At the same time, though, this film has comedy which feels natural. There's comedy between characters which actually works. Like Ezra's Flash is so much more funny in this film than I found in the theatrical cut. I mean, he actually had some moments. He's one of the things I didn't mind about the theatrical cut. But in this film, he's so much more fun to watch. I was watching him laugh my head off in so many scenes with Ezra's Flash. And at the same time, though, Jason Momoa, the Aquaman, he's hilarious in the film. And there's so many funny scenes in the film which just feel natural. Like one of my problems with the theatrical cut was it had so much comedy in that film which just felt forced and didn't really feel like it was really there. It felt quite like Marvel comedy, which is okay for a Marvel film, although it does annoy me Marvel films. But at the same time, you know, because in the end, Joss Whedon was out to Avengers Assemble and Avengers Age of Ultron, so he put his own like comedy twist into the Justice League theatrical cut, and I just don't think it works. But in this film, honestly, the comedy is so much more natural and actually works. Zack Synder in the end has made a much more lighter film than he did in Man of Steel, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. And again, that's not to say I don't hate those films. I don't. But one of my big problems with Batman v Superman is no one's having fun in that film. I didn't really look at anyone was actually having that much fun. But in this film, it looks like everyone's actually having quite a lot of fun actually being on screen there. At the same time, though, got some really enjoyable performances. Like I said, I think Ray Fisher is the heart and soul of the film. He plays Cyborg so well. Honestly, he really does. Ezra's having so much fun in the Flash. I really enjoy the scene where we get him introduced in, which is a new scene in the film. That basically saves this girl that he likes from a car crash and everything. It's worked really well. And then he's playing with puppies and everything, and it's really funny to watch. And at the same time, though, Ben Affleck looks like he's enjoying himself more as Batman in the film. At the same time, though, Henry Cavill shows up in the black Superman suit, and he looks like he's having more fun in the film. At the same time, though, Gal Gadot looks like she's having loads of fun in the film. At the same time, though, it's so much fun to watch, and that's what it took from it. It's a whole different film than the theatrical cut. Because honestly, the theatrical cut was all over the place. It was just way too fast paced. In this film, you have that slow pace, and it's constructed well. It flows well. And that's what makes the film work. That it has that flow to it. That, you know, story goes from story to story. Okay, we get the introduction to Aquaman there. He doesn't really want to be part of the Atlantean world, and then that kind of leads into Aquaman, which I kind of like about it. So then we get the introduction to Cyborg, and how he doesn't really like being Cyborg, and then, you know, we get more interesting characters when going with his guys, and we get the introduction to Wonder Woman, then, you know, Flash, and, you know, Ben Affleck's Batman, and so on and so on and so on. And that's what makes the film work. Because not only does the film flow well, it is well directed in my opinion, it has a fantastic cinematography. Like, yes, some of the special effects are a bit unfinished, I must admit. That's one special effect to do with Lex Luthor in the film, and I forgot to mention, Lex Luthor pops up in quite a few times in the film, which we can't surprise. But at the same time, though, yes, he does have some special effects which aren't as well done as it could have been, but some of the cinematography in the film, particularly in the third act, is really impressive in my opinion. I was like, wow, that's some of the best cinematography I've actually seen in a comic book movie, or superhero movie, whichever way you want to refer to them as. And that worked really well. But at the same time, though, the music of the film, oh my god, the musical score of the film is just brilliant. Like, Tom Hulkenberg, he does such a good job composing the music for the film. Honestly, we did, like, literally, the moment you have Wonder Woman introduced in the film, you got the Wonder Woman thing going in the background, you know, and I was like, oh yes, thank you. Because one of my reasons I actually prefer the DC films over the Marvel movies is because they have those distinctive themes for those characters in every movie they pop up in. Like, whenever Wonder Woman's in a film, you hear that Wonder Woman theme there. You know, you first heard it in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, then you actually heard it in, you know, 2017 Wonder Woman, then you actually, it's in Wonder Woman 1984 as well. Although I haven't seen Wonder Woman 1984, but I have actually listened to some of the score for that film because I wanted to see what it sounded like. And actually, you do hear the Wonder Woman theme in there. At the same time, you hear the Wonder Woman theme in this version of Justice League. You didn't hear it in the theatrical cut, but you hear it in this one. I was like, oh yes, thank you, Tom Hulkenberg. And then at the same time, you also hear Hans Zimmer's Man of Steel score. And one of my favourite parts of Man of Steel is the musical score for that film by Hans Zimmer. You hear it in this one. I was like, literally the moment when Superman came up and you hear the Man of Steel film, I was like, thank you. Oh yes, yes. That was like, oh, thank you. And yes, I know for a lot of people the musical score in a film isn't actually that important, but for me, it makes a film when you have the distinct themes in there with the characters, and when you had Wonder Woman's theme in there, and when you had Superman Man of Steel theme in there, you know, composed by Hans Zimmer, and it's in this one. I was like, thank you, Tom Hulkenberg, because he did such a good job composing the film. Because not only do you have those themes, you know, reoccurring in this film, but at the same time, you also have these new themes in the film. Like, you have the theme for Flash in the film, you have the theme for Aquaman, you have the theme for Cyborg, and it all just works out so well. And at the same time, you actually have the Justice League musical score in the film, which just worked so well. Like, Danny Elfman composed the music for the theatrical cut Justice League in 2017, and I like Danny Elfman. I think he did a great job composing music for the 1989 Tim Burton Batman movie. I really like the musical score for the film. At the same time, I really do like Danny Elfman, you know, film music. He does a great job doing musical score for his films. But honestly, I didn't really like his score for the theatrical cut of Justice League. I thought it was actually quite a bad score. But in this film, the score is so good. That's the thing for Wonder Woman. That's the thing for Man of Steel. That's a completely new film, and it's working so well. That's brilliant. Oh god, it's just so good. And like I said, the villains are more interesting. Darkseid, there's this big like Thanos villain in the film, is menacing to watch. Honestly, that's fantastic. And at the same time, though, on the topic of Darkseid, this film does what you know what? 3 Avengers films took to do. It took what? Avengers Assemble, Avengers Age of Ultron, and Avengers Infinity War even took to do. It gets you interested in these characters, and yes, I know there's less characters than there was in Avengers films, but honestly, that's kind of their own fault, by the way. Anyway, that's another topic entirely. But yes, it gets you interested in the characters, and it tells you about the characters. You have backstories into each and every member of the Justice League in the film. You have a backstory into actually what's really going on with Steppenwolf and Darkseid, and at the same time, it introduces, the big baddie in the film, Darkseid. He's like the Thanos of the DC universe, and it just things like that work so well in the film. And at the same time, I've got some really interesting characters, like Jeremy Irons in there as Alfred. He's really funny to watch. Like one scene where he's trying to make tea with, Wonder Woman in the film, which works really well. And at the same time, Mangellio's in there, Deathstroke, which is a bit of a hint of what's coming out. I really like the look of Deathstroke in the film. And at the same time, though, obviously the big famous characters in the film, which have been kind of been teased. It's not even that much, but the big famous character in the film is obviously Jared Leto's Joker. And honestly, I actually really like Jared Leto's performance in the film. I thought he was far better than he was in Suicide Squad. I hate that film, by the way, and I hated Jared Leto's performance as Joker in that film. And we didn't really get enough of him anyway. But anyway, his performance in this film is better. He's only really in one scene. It's more of a cameo role, to be honest. And it's towards the end of the film. But his performance in the film is so good. And honestly, I did think it was a bit of an unnecessary scene, I must admit, that he popped up in. And even so, I did kind of get annoyed by his laugh as well. And it is an unnecessary scene that he pops up in. But in the end, it's a scene which is there for fan service. And that's what the film's there for a whole. It's one big fan service film. So I didn't really mind the fact that Jared Leto's Joker was in there. I actually kind of like that he faced off against Ben Affleck's Batman. Because the chances are, probably won't get to see Ben Affleck's Batman for, ever again now. And I kind of like that, Zack Synder went out of his way to reshoot that scene between, to reshoot a scene between Ben Affleck's Batman and Jared Leto's Joker. And that just works so well in the film. And honestly, it's such a great film. It really is. It flows well, it's constructed well, and it's put together well. Yes, it has those slow moments, and yes, it does have that dark, dull dialogue in there. When you have those fun, enjoyable action sequences where the Justice League comes together, you just can't help but smile and enjoy it. And that's one thing I didn't expect to say about this film. Like, honestly, I can't say this enough. I'm not really a fan of comic book movies. I'm not really a fan of action sequences in comic book movies. But actually, they work really well in the film. They're constructed well, they stage well, and they just feel so much fun to watch. And seeing all the Justice League, knock characters out with each other is just great. And Superman shows up in the final battle in the best way possible. And honestly, it's things around the film which make it work so well. Because not only is it a fantastic Justice League film, but it also exists by itself. You don't need to have watched, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, or even, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice to actually watch this film. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you watch Man of Steel, if you watch Batman v Superman, I think you will find a bit more enjoyment in this film than maybe someone who hasn't, but you don't have to watch those films, and you still understand what's going on in there. That's what makes it work so well. It exists in itself, that's Aquaman, you get the introduction to Aquaman, you get the introduction to the Flash, you get the introduction to Wonder Woman, you get the introduction to Cyborg, you get the introduction to Batman, and you get the introduction to... I'm forgetting... No, it's all of them, isn't it? Yeah, you get the introduction to all the characters in the film, and that's what makes it work so well. It exists by itself, which is just absolutely fantastic about it. And honestly, for most of the film, I had a huge smile on my face, and I think it works so well. I really did. Yes, it's a bit messy in some stages, and yes, it's a bit all over the place, and yes, it's stupid. It's a superhero movie in the end, so I will admit that it is very stupid. But actually, it's the Justice League film you want, and that's what I liked about it. It's a Justice League film you wanted from the theatrical cut in 2017, didn't get because that film was absolutely awful, and actually got in this film. And honestly, thank you, Zack Synder. Thank you for making the Justice League film I wanted since they teased it in Batman v Superman, and then finally they delivered it. God knows, it was 5 years later in this film, and I'm so happy that they did. Yes, it's 4 hours, but you know what? I still enjoyed the hell out of this film. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that Zack Snyder's Justice League, I'm going to say it's an 8 out of 10. Yes, this film isn't perfect. Yes, it's stupid, and yes, it is overlong. I do feel that the film could be in 3 hours, and I feel a bit more tight and more to the point. But in the end, it still works. It works when it needs to, fun comic book action, and at the same time, though, it works in its characters. Knowing more about these characters, knowing more about the Justice League, knowing more about Cyborg, the way Ray Fisher plays that character, well, he's the heart and soul of the film, and knowing more about Ezra's Flash and enjoying him more, and knowing more about Jason Momoa's Aquaman and enjoying that character more. By the way, William Dafoe pops in the film, and William Dafoe was actually in Aquaman as well, which is kind of nice. Oh, William Dafoe's in the film. Oh, that's quite nice. At the same time, though, just learning more about his characters, learning more about Ben Affleck's Batman, and having a bit more fun in the film, and watching him play off against Jeremy Irons' Alfred, which is just so fantastic to watch him from. At the same time, Gadot is Wonder Woman, really enjoyed performances from everyone in the film, which is just so fantastic to watch. Like, the energy that they have in their own films, like, the 2017 Wonder Woman or Aquaman in 2018, the energy they had from, Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot in those films are carried on into this films in the best way. And honestly, I just enjoyed it so much. I really didn't expect to. I literally sat down to it thinking, I probably won't enjoy it that much, but I'm going to give it a go. And honestly, yes, it did take about an hour to really get into it. I do feel the first hour of the film is actually quite slow. But after that, though, I felt the film really started to get into its prime and learn about how these movie boxes actually came to be, and seeing the creation all of, Steppenwolf and seeing Darkseid and seeing how it all came to be and everything just worked so well for me in the film. And honestly, I love the musical score of the film. I love what Tom Hulkenberg did with it. The musical score of the film is soaring in the same time. The action sequences are genuinely enjoyable. They're crafted well. They're staged well. And honestly, it's so much more enjoyable to watch. Yes, it's overlong. Yes, it's got its problems. Yes, it's got dull dialogue. And yes, it's messy. And yes, it's convoluted. And it's stupid. But I enjoyed it so much more. And in the end, it's a Justice League film that you want. It's a Justice League film that you wanted from the 2017 theatrical cut and didn't get. It's a Justice League film that you've always really wanted ever since, Zack Snyder teased it in Batman v Superman. In the end, it delivers on everything it needs to. And it's so much fun to watch. And honestly, I had the time of my life watching this film. I really did. And I had a huge smile on my face in so many scenes. I smiled, I went along with it. I laughed at the jokes. I enjoyed the moments the film wants you to. And honestly, it's such a great film. It really is. And that's what I liked about it. It works and it actually makes sense as to what was going on. Steppenwolf as a villain is more fleshed out. Yet the characters are more interesting. There's characterization in there. And there's character development in there. The story's more interesting. Everything's more interesting in the film. And honestly, it's great. It really is. I can't recommend this film enough. Go and check it out. It's absolutely brilliant. And honestly, you know what? I'm actually going to say this. I love Zack Snyder's Justice League. And I want to go and watch it again. It's 4 hours long. And you know what? I'm going to go and watch it again. I'm going to go and watch it again sometime this week. Because honestly, I'm so happy that I love this film. And honestly, it's actually a good film as well. It's actually generally just a really good film as well, which I really liked about it. All in all, honestly, Zack Snyder's Justice League is everything you want a Justice League film to be. It's the Justice League film you've always wanted, and it's so fantastic to watch. It's so great, and honestly, I enjoyed the hell out of this film. I really did. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that Zack Snyder's Justice League is an 8 out of 10 from me. Anyway guys, what do you think of Zack Snyder's Justice League? Please do comment down below and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Anyway guys, thank you as always for watching. If you haven't yet, please do click down below and like, subscribe on this video and look forward to many more both film and TV to come very soon on this channel. See you guys again soon, but bye for now. Bye!